Welcome back to Voices of the West from Dusty Saddle. We are again visiting with Ash Lingam and discussing his most recent books on things. Today we are going to be looking into Sling Dolan, his U.S. Marshal. Thank you for joining us again, Ash.
Thank you for having me once again, third time.
You keep coming
feels
back.
like I'm living here.
So you said a couple of weeks ago on things that Sling Dolan was an actual person. How did you get the name for that?
Sling came from a movie about a disabled person, mentally disabled, and the name stuck because the character had so much depth, and it was just part of that. And Dolan came from Dylan, to be honest, because I love Gunsmoke. Actually, my family was such fanatics with Gunsmoke. My aunt would take an hour preparing for a Gunsmoke hour every night, cigarettes, ashtray, drinks, the whole thing, potato chips, and nobody was allowed to speak until the commercials. So I kind of took it from that, and it started with that, and then, like always, it evolved in something similar but very different.
All right. So going into U.S. Marshal type of a book here, what is it about Westerns that inspires you?
Just from the way I grew up and loving Westerns, everything about it. John Wayne, everybody loved John Wayne. He was our hero in America. And then Clint Eastwood broke the molds with the good, bad, and the ugly and all that. And then I saw Once Upon a Time in the West and went crazy. It was the best thing I've ever seen. And I've always loved Westerns. I think I mentioned to you once before, when we were young, I was 24 years old when I got a flight to South America, to Colombia. We bought horses, and three of my friends and I rode over the Andes Mountains. We nearly died doing it, but it was just, we wanted to live the Old West so badly that we said, okay, let's do this. We did it.
Definitely, I understand. I went on a buffalo hunt on Catalina Island once with a bunch of friends. We just basically got off our boat and said, we're not going to stop till we find buffalo, and kept hiking through and finally did find some. So
that's it.
What are some misconceptions about the Westerns that you would like to clear up?
I have a lot of violence in my Westerns because I believe there was a lot of violence, especially in the Western series like Sling Dolan, because just after the World War, it was a terrible time. I mean, men came back to their homes with houses burned and families gone. They were destitute. They spent years fighting a war. It was so bloody. They lost their brothers. They fought their brothers. And then all these people moved west, and the natural gravitation is going to be towards violence, obviously. And there were places like Las Cruces, New Mexico, and Las Vegas, New Mexico, were virtually run by the Dodge City Gang. They were completely lawless. So it's easy to follow that train when you grow up with it. I just don't really. I tried writing everything else, and the only thing that I have the guts to put out there with are Westerns.
Well, you've been doing very well with all of that. What brought about the U.S. Marshal Sling Dolan series for you?
I wanted to go back to writing Westerns again. I tried writing Mountain Men. I love it. I'm not going to stop. I will continue both series at the same time. But I did miss writing about, in the Sling Dolan series, we have David Rothenbach, Mysterious Dave, John Webb, Doc Holliday, all these characters that lived in Las Vegas, New Mexico, right in 1880. So you have so much history to draw from. In real occurrences, John Webb and Doc Holliday owned a saloon together, and John Webb was shot and killed in Texas. He was an outlaw, and my Sling Dolan killed him. So the Webb boys come to get him and take him back to Las Vegas to lock him up and hang him. I don't want to tell too much of the story because it'll ruin it for anybody that's reading it, but that's kind of what's going on there.
Very good. So how long do you typically spend writing a book? I know you write faster than anything in creation, but how long does it typically take you?
There's other writers out there fast. Gerald Guy is fast. He's called Guy Venture now. Jerry's fast. Peter Bramvolt's fast. My fastest book was written in 4 days. It was, I think it was Mountain Man Scout #6. I wrote it in 4 days. And then it took me a day to fix the grammar and a day to give it 2 proofreads. So it takes 6 days to put it to the publisher. That's the fastest I've ever done. But Robert Louis Stevenson wrote Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde in 7 days. So it's not unusual. Stephen King writes a 300, 400-page book every 2 months.
Yeah.
It's, yeah, I'm not the fastest writer in the world. I might be the fastest writer in our group, but so speed writing is not uncommon. Maybe not so common, but it's not uncommon.
Well, I just know about every week I have something new from yours hitting my desk, and it's like, okay, yeah, all right, another Ash. We'll get working on it.
Well, you got this month 3, I think. You got a new one today, and you're going to have another one in a few more days. And you just got one last week, so it's going fast right now.
So, what journey is Sling on throughout the entire series here?
Sling is in the beginning. He was like Matt Dillon. Matt Dillon was never did anything wrong. He was the real white hat, good cowboy. Bonanza was good, but they weren't as realistic. Because Sling Dillon or Matt Dillon still had to kill people. Sling Dolan does the same thing. Mind you, they're not in Dodge City, and it's not the same deal. It has a little bit of similarities. He does have a girlfriend called Miss Candy, and they've been together for 20 years. I originally took the idea and started after Gunsmoke because nobody knew what happened after. So there is no story after. I didn't use exactly the same characters, but I used the premise. And I wanted to know kind of myself what happened to my rest of my series. And I'm writing it. Maybe somebody will decide to pick it back up.
So, with all of these really amazing books and series that you've been putting together, what Western story is in your head that you haven't had a chance to tell yet?
None are in my head. They don't come out of my head.
Ah,
They
well,
don't. They come
I
out of
have a
inside
character
somewhere.
that shows up.
Pardon?
You have a character you'd like to explore?
Uh, I don't know how to explain it to you. I don't formulate anything in my head really. I get names and the names start with characters and I start writing. And it just comes out of the inside of me. I don't think about it. I actually, when I read it the next morning, I often don't recognize what I wrote exactly because I thought, wow, that was pretty good, or wow, that's not as good as I usually am. But it's kind of a mechanical thing that comes out and then I check what happened later.
Very good. Well, I appreciate you taking your time to go through the series of interviews with us. Hopefully, people are going to go out there and get your books. Where can people find them?
Amazon in 12 countries. I think Nick has got them even some libraries now. I'm sure they're available a lot of other places. The easiest place to pick them up is on Amazon for 99 cents. Any book I have when Mountain Man Scout comes out, I'll have 99 Westerns for sale.
Very good. That's a sizable amount of books for people to start on. What should they read first?
Read the Mountain Man books first, and then you'll get to love my work. I don't read any of my old stuff ever. I never read anything I wrote in the past. I always go forward. So I would say the Mountain Man books is where I started having more talent. Everybody likes my first books. I don't have bad reviews on anything, but I feel that I have more of a handle on things since Mountain Man Apprentice. Mountain Man Scout, start with that one, #1. You won't miss. And if you want a great Western, try Gunsmoke, Sling Dolan. Gunsmoke, I put much more into those 2 books, Gunsmoke and Wanted Dead or Alive, than I did 4 Mountain Man books. Easy. I've really researched, I really worked, I polished, I reread. You rake through and rake through and rake through and change your sentences until they flow. And I worked hard on those. I think people will enjoy those the most. I'm trying to get a bestseller. And the big boys, it's kind of hard. It's a tough market out there. I got a bestseller. I'm talking about #1.
Absolutely. Well, you've got a nice volume of books for people to kick into. So when the one hits on everything, that'll keep rolling really well for years. So good for you on all of that.
Thank you.
And thank you for taking your time for all of this. Appreciate it very
Well,
much,
my
Ash.
pleasure, Kevin. I appreciate the effort. I appreciate your time.